Who is this? Rudra stared at his phone, eyebrows furrowed. A new message blinked on the screen from an unknown number. It was weird. The message was even weirder. "Don't trust the new history teacher," it read. Rudra chuckled. This had to be a prank. He was used to his friends trying to scare him with silly jokes. But as more messages popped up, each creepier than the last, his laughter faded. Who was this, claiming to be his future self? And why were they warning him? He had a bad feeling about this. Something was off. This was no ordinary prank. This was something else entirely. At first, Rudra dismissed the messages as spam. He had been receiving a lot of junk messages lately, and this seemed no different. The messages were strange, filled with cryptic warnings and bizarre claims. Rudra thought it was just another scam trying to get his personal information. He didn't give it much thought and continued with his day, ignoring the persistent buzzing of his phone. He tried blocking the number. It seemed like the logical thing to do. After all, who wouldn't want to stop the flood of annoying messages? But even after blocking the number, the messages kept coming. It was as if the sender had found a way to bypass the block, making Rudra feel even more uneasy. But the texts kept coming, like a relentless storm. Each message was more urgent than the last, filled with warnings and strange predictions. Rudra's phone was constantly buzzing, and it was starting to affect his daily life. He couldn't focus on his work, and his friends noticed he was becoming more and more distracted. The sender claimed to be Rudra, from the future. Each message was a cryptic warning, urging him to be cautious. The messages were filled with details about his life that no one else could possibly know. It was as if the sender had a window into his soul, knowing his deepest fears and secrets. Rudra couldn't understand how this was possible, and it made him feel incredibly vulnerable. One text read, "They're watching you, Rudra. They're not who they seem." This message sent chills down his spine. Who were they, and why were they watching him? Rudra's mind raced with possibilities, each more terrifying than the last. He started to look over his shoulder, feeling paranoid and anxious. Fear pricked at Rudra's skin. He couldn't shake off the unsettling feeling that these messages were more than just random texts. They felt personal, targeted. It was as if someone was playing a cruel game with him, and he was the unwitting pawn. The fear began to consume him, affecting his sleep and his interactions with others. His gut told him something was wrong, very wrong. Rudra had always trusted his instincts, and they were screaming at him now. He knew he couldn't ignore this any longer. The messages were too specific, too detailed to be a coincidence. He needed to find out who was behind them and why they were targeting him. He decided to confide in his best friend, Atul. Maybe Atul, with his knack for solving puzzles, could help him crack this strange case. Over coffee, Rudra shared everything with Atul, from the first message to the most recent one. Atul listened intently, his face growing more serious with each passing minute. He promised Rudra that they would get to the bottom of this, no matter what it took. Together, they began to piece together the clues, hoping to uncover the truth behind the mysterious messages. Atul, a walking encyclopedia of conspiracy theories, listened with wide eyes as Rudra narrated the bizarre happenings. But when Rudra finished, Atul burst into laughter. "Dude, you seriously believe this? It's probably just some kids messing with you." Rudra frowned. "But what if it's not, Atul? What if it's real?" Atul's laughter subsided. He knew Rudra well enough to recognize genuine fear. He patted Rudra's shoulder. "Okay, let's say, hypothetically, that it's real. What are these messages saying?" Rudra showed him the string of cryptic texts. Atul's face turned serious. This wasn't a joke anymore. As days turned into nights, the messages became more frequent and eerily accurate. One text warned Rudra about a surprise quiz in his least favorite subject, history. Rudra was shocked. He aced the quiz thanks to the mysterious tip-off. Then came another text predicting that their grumpy neighbor's dog would escape. The next day, the neighborhood was in chaos, chasing the runaway canine. Each prediction came true, fueling Rudra's confusion and fear. Atul, however, was now fully invested, his skepticism replaced by an eager curiosity. This wasn't just some elaborate prank. This was something far stranger, far more real. Rudra and Atul spent hours poring over the messages, trying to decipher their hidden meanings. Atul, with his love for codes, treated it like a challenging puzzle. He pointed at a recurring phrase in the texts, "Beware the shadows." "What if it's not a metaphor?" Atul whispered, eyes wide with excitement. "What if it literally means shadows? Like someone lurking in the shadows watching you?" Rudra shuddered. The thought sent chills down his spine. The texts were becoming increasingly ominous. They needed to figure out who was behind this, and fast. Driven by a mix of fear and curiosity, Rudra and Atul decided to confront the most suspicious character mentioned in the texts, the new history teacher, Mr. Smith. The texts had been cryptic, filled with warnings and strange symbols, and they couldn't shake off the feeling that something was terribly wrong. They had spent countless hours decoding the messages, and all signs pointed to Mr. Smith. The decision to confront him wasn't easy, but they knew they had to get to the bottom of this mystery. "Mr. Smith, we need to talk to you," Rudra said, his voice shaking slightly. The classroom was empty, the perfect setting for a private conversation. Atul stood beside him, his eyes darting around nervously. They had rehearsed this moment, but now that it was happening, the weight of it all felt overwhelming. Mr. Smith's eyebrows shot up in surprise. He had always been a composed figure, rarely showing any emotion, but this was different. The boys had caught him off guard, and it was clear he hadn't expected this confrontation. "Of course, boys." "What is it?" he asked, trying to maintain his usual calm demeanor, but there was a hint of unease in his voice, a slight tremor that betrayed his true feelings. Rudra took a deep breath, gathering his courage. The moment Rudra mentioned the strange text messages, Mr. Smith's calm demeanor cracked. His eyes widened, and he took a step back, clearly rattled. The boys had hit a nerve and they knew they were onto something. He glanced around nervously, then grabbed Rudra's arm. The grip was firm, almost desperate. It was as if he was trying to convey the urgency of the situation through that single action. Atul watched in shock, unsure of what to do. "We need to leave here. Now!" he hissed. His voice was low, urgent, filled with a sense of impending danger. The boys exchanged confused glances, but there was no time to ask questions. Mr. Smith was already moving, pulling them along. Before Rudra could react, chaos erupted. The school hallway, which had been eerily quiet moments ago, was now a scene of pandemonium. Students were running in all directions, their faces masks of fear and confusion. The air was filled with shouts and the sound of hurried footsteps. People in black suits stormed the school, their faces grim. They moved with purpose, their eyes scanning the crowd. It was clear they were looking for someone, and the boys had a sinking feeling that it was them. Mr. Smith's grip tightened and he quickened his pace. Rudra and Atul exchanged terrified glances. This was far beyond anything they had imagined. The texts, the confrontation, and now this. Everything was spiraling out of control. They had no idea what was happening, but they knew they had to trust Mr. Smith, at least for now. This was straight out of an action movie. The boys had always dreamed of adventure, but this was a nightmare. As they were pulled through the chaos, they couldn't help but wonder what they had gotten themselves into. The answers were out there, somewhere, and they were determined to find them, no matter the cost. As the men in black apprehended Mr. Smith, one of them turned to Rudra. The scene was chaotic, with agents swarming around, securing the area. Rudra's heart pounded in his chest as he tried to make sense of what was happening. "You're safe now," he said, showing him a badge. The badge gleamed under the dim streetlight, revealing the emblem of a covert government agency. Rudra's eyes widened in disbelief. He had always thought such agencies only existed in movies. "We've been watching you, Rudra. We knew they'd try to silence you." The agent's voice was calm but firm, instilling a sense of security in Rudra. He felt a mix of relief and confusion. Why would anyone want to silence him? It turned out Mr. Smith was part of a secret organization trying to alter the past. This organization had been operating in the shadows for years, manipulating events to their advantage. Their goal was to change key moments in history to gain power and control. The texts? They were sent by a rogue agent from the future trying to protect young Rudra. This agent had discovered the organization's plans and decided to take matters into his own hands. Using advanced technology, he sent messages back in time to warn Rudra. He had hacked into the system using an untraceable number. The rogue agent was a master hacker capable of bypassing the most secure systems. His skills were unmatched, and he used them to stay one step ahead of the organization. The agent knew Rudra was the key to stopping Mr. Smith's sinister plan. Rudra possessed a unique ability, something the organization feared. The rogue agent believed that with the right guidance, Rudra could thwart their plans and restore the timeline. Rudra was both terrified and strangely thrilled. The revelation of his importance in this grand scheme was overwhelming. He had always felt different, but he never imagined it would lead to something like this. His life had just taken a sharp turn into a spy thriller. The ordinary days of school and homework seemed like a distant memory now. Rudra knew that from this moment on, nothing would ever be the same. He was ready to embrace his destiny, no matter how dangerous it might be. In the aftermath of the chaotic day, Rudra and Atul sat on Rudra's porch, trying to process everything. The agents had erased everyone's memories of the day, except theirs. Mr. Smith was gone, his true identity and whereabouts unknown. "So it was real," Atul whispered, breaking the silence, all of it. Rudra nodded, a strange mix of relief and fear swirling within him. He had cheated fate thanks to the mysterious texts. But the sender remained a mystery. Who was this person from the future who saved him, and why? Life returned to a semblance of normalcy, but things were different. Rudra couldn't shake off the feeling that he was being watched, protected. He often found himself staring at his phone, waiting for another message that never came. The experience had changed him. He was no longer just a normal teenager. He was Rudra, the boy who received texts from the future. The boy who was entrusted with a secret too big to comprehend. And as he looked up at the night sky, he couldn't help but wonder, what other secrets did the future hold? The unknown beckoned, filled with both wonder and trepidation.